So today's lesson is talking about a thing called distribution. The mathematical term for multiplying what we call a binomial and a binomial together is called distribution. So sometimes you'll hear me refer to the term distribution when we're doing these lessons. So when we're expanding and simplifying, for example, 1, this is what I'm actually talking about. So we take the first term in the first bracket, x, and we apply it to the first term in the second bracket. So we end up with x times x, which is x squared. Now we're going to do the same thing again, but now x is going to be applied to the 3, the second term in the second bracket. So now you're going to get 3 times x, which gives us 3x, but because we have two positives, positive and a positive gives us positive 3x. Now we're going to do the same thing for the second term in the first bracket. 4 times x gives us 4x, but because both are positive, the overall is positive. Now we do the same thing again for 4 times 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then basically, because both are positive, it's overall positive. So now, all we have to do is what we used to call collect like terms. And we look for all the x squareds in this problem. There's only one x squared, so let's copy that down. Now, you'll notice that we have 2 x's sitting in the middle. We have to add those two together. Plus 3 plus 4 gives us plus 7x. And then finally, we just have 12. That's it. Now, the one thing that I want you to recognize is that think about the 4 and the 3 that we had in our original expansion, right? We're going to be using this concept in the final, in section number 3 right before your quiz, so be very mindful of this. Notice 4 times 3 is equal to 7, isn't it? Right? And then 4 times 3 is equal to 12. That's actually a key point in the math that we do. So you'll notice that the middle term is 4 plus 3 and the end term is 4 times 3. Always. All right, now let's do the same thing again. So we're going to take x and multiply it by everything in the second bracket. And that gives us x squared minus 3x. Now we'll take the second term in our bracket, which is minus 4, and we'll multiply it through. So this time I'll go slowly. So minus 4, so we got 4 times x is 4x, right? But then you have positive, and a negative multiplying together, which gives us negative. And now we have 4 times 3, which is 12, but then negative and negative. Negative times a negative gives us positive. So now we'll just add all our like terms. So we start with our x squared. So we got x squared, done. Now we have to add these two numbers in the middle. So minus 3x and minus 4x gives us minus 7x. And then our final term is plus 12. You'll notice that minus 3 and minus 4 added together is negative 7. And we have negative 4 times negative 3 also gives us positive 12. Yes. Okay, so just be mindful of that as you're going through these calculations. So now we'll multiply x plus 7 times x minus 4. I'll do two different colors for the two multiplications. Black for the first. X squared minus 4x. How did I get that? X times 4 is 4x, but then overall it's negative 4. So we just put negative 4. And then we take positive 7 times x and then times negative 4. So you're going to get plus 7x. And then 7 times 4 is 28, but the overall is negative. So now we add all our terms together. X squared. And then we just go minus 4 plus 7, and that will give us positive 3x. And then we have minus 28 left over. And you'll notice that 7 minus 4 gives us 3. Isn't that what our middle term is? And we have 7 times negative 4 gives us negative 28. Now for D, what happens when we multiply a minus first, x minus, and then an x plus? Yeah, let's see. So now we've got this times this and this times that. And then we're going to take this times this and this times that. So now multiplying through, this is what we get. And now we'll add all our terms. X squared, we're going to add the middle term to get minus 3x, because plus 4 minus 7 gives us minus 3. And then we end with minus 28. And you'll notice that negative 7 plus 4 gives us minus 3. And negative 7 times 4 is negative 28, which is that. And now, what does it mean to have a binomial squared? So what that means is, if you think about it, when we had 3 squared, it really meant 3 times 3, right? So what we're going to do with this problem is we're literally going to do the same thing, except we're going to do it with this bracket that we have here. We're going to replicate it twice. So we're going to write, well, x plus 5 times x plus 5, and we're going to do the same thing that we did up here, where we just expanded exactly the same. And we end up with this for the x going into the second bracket first. And now we're going to take 5 and multiply it by those two. And 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times 5 is positive 25. And now let's simplify. So we've got x squared. We add these two together. So we get 5x plus 5x, which is 10x, and then plus 25. Now, the only thing that we have to really check is, hey, isn't 5 plus 5 10? Yes. Isn't 5 times 5 25? Yes, it is. So like I said, we're going to see something like this in the third lesson of this unit. All right, so now let's move on to x minus 4 squared. Same thing as what we did back here, right? And I guess we could put both of them on here to see how we did it, and we'll do it. So pause the video, try this on your own, see if you get the same answer as me. So we end up with this for part D. And to summarize, you'll notice that negative 4 minus 4 gives us negative 8, which refers to the minus 8x. And then we have negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16, which refers to that. Okay, so now let's move on to more expanding and simplifying of some binomials. And we're going to start with this one here. Expand and simplify x minus 7, x plus 7. So we're just going to do it. So x times x, and then x times 7, which gives us x squared plus 7x. Okay? And then we're going to take this and this. So we've got minus 7 times minus x times x is minus 7x. And then minus 7 times positive 7 gives us, well, it got 49, but it's negative 49. X squared, bring these two together, and you're left with 0x, and then minus 49. So your final answer is going to be x squared minus 49. And that only happens if there is a positive and a negative and two numbers are the same at the end of each box here. So if the only difference between the first bracket and the second bracket is a minus sign, you're always going to get x squared minus the last number squared. So now we're going to do this again. We're going to look at two things that have the same numbers, but a minus sign in between them. So let's go and see what happens. All right. 2x times 2x and 2x times 9, which gives us, well, we're going to get 2x times 2x is 4x squared, and then 2x times minus 9 gives us minus 2 times 9 is 18x, and then this times this, and then this times this. So we're going to have plus 18x, right? And then minus 81. So now you're left with 4x squared, and then we're going to add these two. You're going to get plus 0x minus 81 equals 4x squared minus 81 as our final answer. So you've seen these before. We used to call these types of things the precursors to a thing called the difference of squares. You will see these in the third lesson of the unit. All right, now pause the video and try this one. Expand it on your own and then see what my answer is. So the first part is going to be 1 times 5 gives us 5, and then 1 times minus 3x is minus 3x. Now the second term, x times everything in the second bracket, gives us this, plus 5x, and then minus 3x squared. Now we'll add everything together, and you're ending up with 5. We're adding these two together, and you've got plus 2x, and then minus 3x squared. All right, now let's expand and simplify again. This one. So remember, with this one, we're literally going to just repeat it. 5x minus 6, 5x minus 6, and then we expand like we normally do. 5x times everything in the second bracket gives us 5x squared is minus 30x, and now negative 6 times everything in the second bracket gives us, now you're still going to get the minus 30x in the middle, but 6 times 6 is 36, but it's two minuses, so you're going to get positive 36. So you end up with this final answer. 25x squared minus 60x plus 36. Okay, so now let's go on to our word problems for the day, which involve shapes with this stuff. So for this problem, it says write the simplified expression of the area of the rectangle and then find the area if x is equal to 4. So remember, area is length times width. So imagine if this is the length and this is the width. So now all we're going to do is multiply them. So to multiply them, we can just put them as brackets beside a bracket. And then we do what we did before. So we multiply our reds together. We get this. And then we end up with, for the second part, minus 12x and then minus 6. So now our area simplified is just going to be 4x squared, add the middle. So now you've got 2x minus 12x is minus 10x. Just use your calculator for that. And then minus 6. So now it asks us to find the area of the written expression. Okay, so I'm just going to put a box here for my written expression. And then what you're going to do is you're going to calculate the area if x is 6. So if x is equal to 4, you're going to go a is equal to, well, 4 times 4 all squared. Notice I'm substituting directly in. And then we get minus 10 times 4 minus 6. So now what I suggest you do is you calculate each of these individually or do it all in one shot, all right? So I've got, so 4, so now a is equal to 4 times 16 minus 40 minus 6. And then so a is equal to 64 minus 40 minus 6. Use your calculator and you end up with, I guess, 24 minus 6, which means a is equal to 18 and centimeters squared is our final answer. And we're done. That's it. So the key idea here is after you have calculated, you say if x is equal to 4, you substitute the numbers directly into your equation and then do your calculus to show me your final answer, which is right here. Sometimes you might have to put a sentence to be more explicit. Other times you might just need to just show me a box for your final answer. So now let's work on our next problem. So now what we need to do is we need to calculate an area for this shape that we have here. Now we're asking for a simplified expression. So in order to make this as very simplified as possible, what we should do is we should split our shape as nice as possible so that we have no other calculations to make. And so you'll notice that this box here, I'm going to call it A1, has all of its sides, right? And this second box, I'm going to call it A2, has all of its sides as well. So let's go and do the calculation for A1 and then we'll talk about it, because we need to calculate each individual area and then total it. So the area is length times, so that means we multiply 3x plus 1 times 6x plus 4, and now we go and expand. And so now that we've expanded, we have to finally simplify A1. So A1 is equal to, well, 18x squared, 12 plus 6x, 12x plus 6x is 18x plus 4. And there is our answer for A1. So now let's go and calculate A2. And we get this for A2. And now what we have to do is we must add the results of A1 plus A2 to get the total area. All right, so now let's do that. So in order to get that, you notice how we have a variable A1 and a variable A2. So that means we have to put a bracket for each part of the problem when we substitute. So now substituting, you've got this, and now we drop the brackets. So now dropping all the brackets, all we have to do is get our final total, which is adding all our x squareds. So 18x plus 5x squared is going to be 23x squared. And then we're going to do the same for x. So 18x minus 13x is going to be 5x. So positive 5x. And then 4x minus 6x is minus 2. And there is your final answer. And if you want to be very explicit, you're going to say, therefore, A is that. And we're done. All right, so for this problem, we're asking you to use the same question that we did before, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to go and do the indirect approach, which really means, think of it this way, if you go to Lowe's, they don't go and cut this thing to shape for you. What they usually do is they give you a big plank, and then if you want, they will charge you to chop off the gray area in order to get the shape that you're looking for. Now, when we're doing this problem, we're literally going to have to find the missing sides. So in the gray area, we're missing this side here, right? And in the big rectangle that we have here, we're missing this entire length right here. So what we're going to do is take a moment and calculate this side and then the length of this side. Then from there, we're going to calculate the area of the big rectangle and then the area of the small rectangle. Then we're going to subtract the two. So let's see how that plays out. So for this problem here, if you look at it, right, I'm saying that this side here is 2x plus 1. But how did I get that? So just go over your work here, and you're just going to say, okay, so 5x plus 2 minus 3x plus 1. You notice how they're in brackets, right? The reason why they're in brackets is because we're subtracting whole sections of equations, right? And the key is, if I have a minus sign sitting in front of my bracket, right, where I have minus bracket 3x plus 1, think of 3x plus 1 as having all of its signs flipped. So 3x was originally positive 3x, so we're going to change it to minus 3x. And then plus 1 has been changed to minus 1 when we drop its bracket. It's kind of like saying, okay, distribute the negative 1 into the bracket, and then whatever comes out, comes out. So just remember, if there's a minus sign sitting in front, just flip all the signs. Okay, and now we end up with 5x plus 2 minus 3x plus 1. So you know what? For 5x, there is no sign in front of it, so we can just drop it. And we'll continue. And eventually, you're going to get an answer of 2x plus 1. So by actually dropping something that doesn't have a minus sign in front, you just get the original back. So you end up with 2x plus 1, and that's how we got 2x plus 1. So now we got to go and look at this big side here that we're missing from the big rectangle. So we're going to take 6x plus 4 and x minus 3 and add them together. Okay? That's it. So you get 7x minus 1. So now we have to go and calculate the area of the big plank, which I'm going to highlight right here. So here is our big rectangle that we're going to be calculating for. So you kind of got to keep a mental idea of what you're actually calculating for, right? So the area of the big is going to be 5x plus 2, and then we're going to times it by the big length that we calculated for the side going up and down. So that's 7x plus 1. Now we're just going to multiply everything out, right? So 5x squared times 5x times 7x is 35x squared, right? Then 5x times 1 is 5x. Then 2x times 7x is 14. And now we're going to go 2 times 1 is positive 2. So now we just got to collect all the terms that are similar. So we're going to have final 35x squared plus 19x plus 2 as our area for the big rectangle. So now let's focus on the smaller rectangle, which is going to be in green here. So we're going to do some calculations for this. So you'll notice that it has two sides. So you're going to say the area of the small is going to be 2x plus 1 times 6x plus 4. So now you're just going to multiply everything out like before. 2x times 6x, blah, 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 8x, 6x plus 4. And you get this. So now that we've done that, we have to collect all our like terms. So you're going to get 12x squared plus 14x plus 4 for your final area. Make sure you highlight where you got the area of the small. So if I was looking at your testing, I could see where you went wrong. But be very explicit to show me that it's the smaller area. Now, in order to calculate the area of this shape here that's in white, we're going to have to take the area of the big rectangle minus the area of the small rectangle. Now that you've done that, you're just going to put everything in brackets like before. So you're going to put the area of the big equation in here, right, for the first bit. So you're going to get 35x squared plus 19x plus 2, right? And then in one bracket. And then you're going to have minus the other half of the bracket. Okay? So that's the part what I talked about right here, where I said, okay, if I have a minus sign, I'm just going to flip all the signs of everything in my original bracket and just throw it down as the opposite sign for the second half of the equation. So just remember, the minus bracket just causes everything inside to flip its sign. That's all you got to remember. So now, let's go. So the first part, 35x squared, but the last half of our equation, all of the signs get flipped. So we got minus 14x and minus 4 for the last bit. So now we have to collect all our terms which are similar, right? So the area is going to be 35x squared minus 12x, which gives us 23x squared, right? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add 5x, because 19x minus 14x gives us 5x. And then finally, we have to add the 2 and the negative 4. And that gives us minus 2. And that is our final solution.
Both days, maybe a shot.
And so now, that's all we have to do for today. Your homework is posted online. Good luck.